way back into the sanctuary, please. We're about to get started. Can you find your seats? Victoria, could you go to the narthex or try and grab people, please? Thank you. Everyone, can you take your seats, please? We're going to get started. Nobody wants to hear me anyway, Emily. Everyone, please take your seats. We're going to get started.
You see, you're not speaking very loud and your mouth so far with a mic. So I think if you speak closer to the mic, people will hear that you're saying something.
Can everyone please take your seats? We're going to get started. Thank you. Here, everyone, my name is Louise Sinclair. I'm Chair of Council here at Christ First and want to welcome you and thank you for staying after the service for this presentation. I'm very happy to welcome Jess Brand and Trishti Simone, who's at the back from Indwell. Jess is going to do a presentation so you can get to know Indwell a little bit better. If you have questions at the end, I think Jess has set aside some time for that. I invite you to come up, please, to this microphone and lean in close so that everyone can hear your question. If you have a need to stay in your seat, we are happy to bring a mic to you if necessary. Everyone ready? All right. On that note, I'll hand it over to Jess. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, I thought this might be the one that was making the noise. Is it okay? Do I need to turn that microphone away?
You're good.
I'm good. That voice came from who knows where. Back up here. You know what you're talking about. That's good. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm here to talk about Indwell. Our presentation we like to call Opening Doors Together, because every door that we open together becomes a solution to homelessness. And we like to identify that because one of the things that is missing in the homelessness crisis that's happening across Ontario, across Canada, it's actually kind of a worldwide piece as well. But in homelessness is people don't have a door to close. When Victoria was doing the building piece, one of the kids had like a little sassy comment about not having a potty. But that's the reality. It's when we take respect and the lack of access to a washroom facility, those two things. It's hard to have self-respect when you are shut out from places and you need to use a washroom. And at the same time, there's a tension when you're running a business or having a home and someone needs to use a washroom and they happen to choose your yard. These things are spaces of tension. And we, as Indwell, like to step into this space saying it's possible to come together, to open doors together so that people actually can have a home and we can resolve some of what is going on. So Indwell provides supportive housing for people seeking health, wellness, and belonging. And we're active in Mississauga. We're active and growing in Mississauga. And I'm going to take us through presentation, hopefully answer some questions that you may come with this morning about who is Indwell and what do they not do, and then we can take some questions if there are pieces remaining after that. But thank you so much for all that you are already doing. I saw the compass. There's a little drop box as I came up the stairs through the doorway that I don't even know where the doorway is anymore to where I am right now. I've just been in this room. But there's a drop box for the compass, and I see how active the compass is. And Indwell is across southwestern Ontario. So Mississauga is the farthest east we are at this time. The farthest west that we are is, we're actually growing in Sarnia now. But the compass is incredible to have so many people served, so many volunteers, such commitment. I'm not actually seeing that. I see lots of cool things in different nonprofit organizations around southwestern Ontario, but the Compass is really unique. We got something great going on here in Mississauga in the Compass. And it's also important for you to know that Compass and Indwell were not exactly the same thing. The Compass provides drop-in services. They have a warm place for people to be, especially when they have nowhere else to go. Indwell is permanent supportive housing. And so that's what we'll talk some more about. So yes, we are currently supporting 1,300 tenants across southwestern Ontario. We've been doing this work for more than 50 years. It's really been in the last 15 years that we have ramped up, providing really high levels of support and being able to expand that to support more individuals in more communities. We empower our tenants to achieve their own health, wellness, and belonging. So people often will say, who comes to Indwell? Who lives in your housing? I think you can probably think of people who actually are maybe cut off from community, don't have connections. We actually talk about them as the social determinants of health, things that help us all stay healthy and well. We know what those things are. We just, as Victoria identified, we take them for granted. We actually have friends. We have a community that we're a part of here. Many of you have a place to serve, a place to call home. These different pieces are actually part of what helps us stay well. So when Indwell develops an apartment building, we're not just developing separate units for people to have a door to lock. That's an important piece. But we're developing a community where people can care for one another in an interdynamic kind of way. So when I highlighted in the message, Tim, JP, Richard, these are folks who take care of their neighbors. It's not just about us taking care of people, it's about building a community that cares for each other. And the goal is that that community also connects with its external community. So at Lakeshore Lofts in Port Credit, when we have a tenant who says, I am so proud, I have achieved enough stability that I can now donate to the Compass Food Bank. He goes to the Metro, buys cans, and brings them to the Compass, where he used to come to the Compass and get food. That is 100% what we want to see. That's I don't like to talk about it as success, but that's what we exist to do. We exist so that people can have health, wellness, and belonging, and they can then become part of the rest of the community, giving back in whatever way makes sense. Okay. We have a 92% housing stability rate. What does that mean? That means that when people move into Indwell's housing, we are able to support them with we talk about calibrating the supports. We're able to support them so that year over year, people stay housed. And so 92%, the gold standard in homelessness research is 80%, that if you've got 80% of folks who are still housed a year later, you are like knocking it out of the park. And we're at 92%. And that's folks coming directly from homelessness. That 8%, we wonder about that. Also recognizing we take our place among other providers. Some people need something different than what we provide. And so we build partnerships and connections within our regions so that people can have the housing that works well for them. So in Peel Region, we work with Supports and Housing in the Province, SHIP, and we connect with other partners so that people, as much as we are able, it's not up to us, we don't make decisions for people, but as much as we're able, people can have a continuous housing journey. All right, let's move on to our next slide. I talked about our mission. We create affordable housing communities that support people seeking health, wellness, and belonging. So if someone needs health, wellness, and belonging, and they need affordability, then Indwell is the place for them. This means that our folks could be seniors, they could be living with a disability, a developmental disability, or a brain injury, or traumatic circumstances that have led to the situation that they find themselves in. Our best version of ourselves is when someone can achieve stability in a hospital environment or something along those lines, and that care team can follow them, and we work with that to help that whole system work well and a person can stay well. We know that there's not enough housing and hospitals are overcrowded. So actually, folks are coming from homelessness into our housing, and then we're connecting them with the healthcare supports that can help them. So that's our mission. our core values, and this is actually reflected, I realized, in the message that we talked about this morning. So we value the inherent dignity of all people. By pure definition of being a human being, we have dignity, we belong, we are loved by God, we're created in God's image. So then, we do stuff, we love others, we live out our Christian calling to love our neighbors as ourselves. And hope that God will bless that work, that's the foundation of all of our actions. Hope doesn't necessarily mean that there's a rosy future ahead. It really doesn't. But it means that we're going to get up and we're going to try again. And so when something is difficult, we will not give up. We don't give up. And that means that there are times when someone moves into our housing and maybe this isn't the right time for them, but we might see them in 2 years, or we might see them in 5 years. In the 15 years that I've worked for Indwell, I've seen people's lives change over time and have had the blessing and honor of moving with them through different times where they've needed more support and less support, and we've been able to do that as Indwell. It's a beautiful, incredible gift to be able to walk alongside people in that way. So we are active. I mentioned this already. The map will come up. There are inquiries. This is actually across the province. People are saying, we want what Indwell does. We want you to be in our community. So currently, we're active from Mississauga to Sarnia. We're looking at Niagara. We're looking at Brantford. We get calls from Sudbury. We're not going to Sudbury very soon, but I love cross-country skiing, and I'm not even Methodist. So I don't know how that's all going to work out. One day, maybe I will achieve my cross-country skiing dreams, but it might be when I retire. But anyway. So, moving on, the challenge, as you are aware, the slide will come up. The challenge is, and this slide is a bit jarring. There are overlapping challenges. I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase VUCA. We are in a volatile, uncertain, chaotic. The environment that we're in is, there's many crises happening at once. More people are unhoused. There's a worsening opioid crisis. We have increased polarization. When it says NIMBY response, I like to actually move away from that kind of language. We have communities that are polarized against one another, and people are having a hard time finding bridges and connecting with each other. You know it, I know it, we see it. It shows up in all different kinds of places. Affordable housing initiatives exclude people below the poverty line. So the definition of affordability is actually, it's different if you're the part of the federal government or the Ontario government or the municipality or the person who's looking for something that's affordable. Hey, affordability to me means $400 a month. It's what I got. But affordability over in the government world means 100% of AMR. Well, what in the world is that? And that's how do we make this market work in order to support those who need the affordability. 100% of AMR is 100% of average market rent, which is a calculation that Canada Mortgage and Housing has. But even the government is saying we need to do things differently. They've initiated Build Canada Homes, a new way of building, but we'll get more to that later. So we are, and everyone is, serving people with higher levels of need or acuity. Organizations across Ontario are changing their models because the level of acuity and challenge that they're seeing in people's lives is higher than it used to be. And that's, somebody else can talk about how that came to be, but it's part of the reality of what we're living with. But we are not without hope. All right, so this is where Indwell's solution, because we offer interdisciplinary support within individual apartments inside of a community, we are able to meet people where they're at. And so when folks have high acuity or lower acuity, we can adjust that to people's needs. So we offer nursing support. Nurses are able to assess and refer. If someone is living with schizophrenia, we could help them get to Trillium Health Partners in order to get the support that they need. Or if they're living on dialysis and they need to make sure they get to their appointments or they need assessments in between, nurses can do that. Nurses can do all kinds of different things, wound care, or they can catch shingles before it becomes too late. these are things that I've seen happen over our years. So we have nurses, we have food security, a hot meal a day, but it's not just food security, it's actually also the community that comes around food. So if you ever get a chance to come to Cornerstone Suites, we have a dining room and people can sit down and there's beautiful windows and the light streams in, and Grace and Jared make food and people share it together. And during Black History Month, they are doing soul food and they'll have Nigerian jollof rice and meals that meet people where they're at. That's more than food security, that's also home. Life skills training, so, and we do this with volunteers too, but maybe it's actually understanding and managing your emotions, or maybe it's managing finances, or maybe it's cleaning your apartment, all different kinds of instrumental activities of daily living. Recreation and social supports, addiction supports, knowable communities. And a knowable community, we try to keep our buildings relatively small, so that people can actually know each other. Then you can actually manage your front door a little bit better and care for the hallways and the windows and those things that help the house just look good, and for people to be kind and friendly to one another. So we build knowable communities. So that means our units our apartment buildings are between 40 and 60 units. I would love to build 300 units in one shot, except that for the level of support that Indwell provides, that's a really big community. So Indwell keeps our community small so that we can provide the support that people need in order to live well. All right. Interdisciplinary staff team here. You can see some of our folks from Cornerstone Suites. So our interdisciplinary staff team, this is Bobby wearing the yellow jacket. Bobby is our program manager. She oversees Lakeshore Lofts and Cornerstone Suites and soon to come Creekside Apartments. And so Bobby oversees all of these. Then we have a program supervisor. We have registered practical nurses, psychosocial rehabilitation workers, addiction support workers, housing support workers, and food security workers. And all of these folks come together to support individuals in their apartments within the community. Moving on. Here are two buildings that you may have seen. One was, I showed during the slideshow because I love the story of how this came to be. It truly was churches saying there's folks who are living in those group homes and they are not living well. Indwell, what can you do about it? And we said, no, there's too many swimming pools in the backyards in that neighborhood. We shouldn't be in that neighborhood. And that over time changed. And we said, okay, we're gonna do this. And now we have 40 units and people living well. You can see those windows that are part of that dining room. They've got the blinds on the main floor there. It's a beautiful home. So we have Lakeshore Lofts in Port Credit, 68 supportive units for individuals who are at risk of homelessness. We opened that in February 2022, and Cornerstone Suites in Streetsville. And we're celebrating a year and a half at Cornerstone Suites. Bit of a drill down into Lakeshore Lofts. This program has 4 floors, 68 studio and 1-bedroom apartments. We have 23 of those are barrier-free. As I mentioned, we support folks who are living with disabilities, so the barrier-free units really are helpful. As people age, they can live in their home. We are co-located, as you know, with a Compass Food Bank. We build all of our buildings to Passive House standard. So this is intended for the apartment to be affordable for the long haul. That means recognizing that climate change is a reality. We want the apartment to be a low cost to everyone. And so the heating bills are not high. It also is more likely to be funded by Canada Mortgage and Housing because of its environmental standards. There's all kinds of wins in this, and our tenants take that story of environmental friendliness and what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, sustainability, and that becomes part of their story, right? Caring about what's happening for the environment. You can be proud of the place where you live. It's beautiful, it's environmentally friendly, it's affordable, and all those things happen to be in one place. There are common spaces, community kitchens, office spaces, and we call this a blended program of support. So it's a relatively low level of support for this building. And Indwell likes to build a range of supports so that people have options. There is not enough supportive housing in Mississauga or Peel region, not nearly enough. So Lakeshore Lofts has had to do a lot since 2022, being one of the only options for people who need supportive housing. That's not enough. We are actively trying to find more options for people. So being able to add Cornerstone Suites, which has a higher level of support. So folks who maybe were at Lakeshore Lofts who needed more support were able to move to Cornerstone Suites. And folks who are coming directly out of homelessness can come to Cornerstone Suites and receive a high level of support in order to meet their needs. That takes some of the pressure off of Lakeshore Lofts to be everything to everybody. Now it can be a blended program of supports, a high level of supports. We're opening Creekside Apartments, which will be a lower level of support yet, because there are folks who say, I don't need everything that you have here, but I really want to stay with Indwell because I appreciate that you're there for me when I need you. So Creekside Apartments, that'll be the one that's pretty nearby, right, at 1639 Lakeshore Road. That is a lower level of support. We are also looking for another location where we can do a high level of support because, you know, we were called by Peel Region, can you come with us to an encampment? We have someone who needs housing and doesn't want to go into the shelters and we don't know what to do, can you help us? Absolutely. Our team will come along, we'll come to the encampment, we'll meet this person and see if we can build enough trust with them so they could move into Cornerstone Suites, getting people off the street into healthy and safe environments. I'm digressing a bit, but let's move on from Lakeshore Lofts. Here's the inside. That's our apartments are intended to be bright and healthy spaces. But let's look at Cornerstone Suites. Back. I know. Here we go. Cornerstone Suites. Right, so Lakeshore Lofts is that blended level. Cornerstone Suites, a higher level of support. There's 3 floors, 40, so the unit count is a little bit lower, you'll notice. 40 studio apartments with barrier-free. It's historic, right? So there's, we won an award for urban design and beauty because it is really beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's also built to Passive House standards. So we took those houses and got them to Passive House standard. There are common spaces, a community kitchenette, office spaces, concierge. So we have a front desk where we can see who's coming in and going out. And we have a backyard with a barbecue and some sheltered porches. It's gorgeous. And we call that an enhanced level of support. And so that means that all of people's meals are taken care of, well, one hot meal a day, but then we also offer breakfast and lunch. And we also have medication support for folks. And we can attend appointments with people and provide a high level of support at Cornerstone Suites. And then we move over to Creekside. Yes, here's the inside of a model suite at Cornerstone. Creekside Apartments. So this is in Clarkson Village. This is the one that is set to open, we expect, I'm going to say this out loud, I know, January. So hopefully next year we will know the people who are moving in and we will be close to or in the middle of move-in. So this is 4 stories, 50 apartments, main floor commercial. So there will be a business on that main floor. I don't know if there's been an announcement yet about what business will be there, but there will be a business on the main floor that will be a benefit to the community. And also built to Passive House standard, common spaces, community kitchenette, office spaces, sight lines so we can see who's coming in and going out and take care of the building. And that'll be a standard level of support. So standards will have housing support. We will have care teams that can increase support if people need them. And we have Lakeshore Lofts, it's a blended level of support, and Cornerstone Suites with the high level of support. And then there are options so that people can stay housed. So if someone doesn't need what we have at Cornerstone Suites anymore, they could move to Lakeshore in order to receive a lower level of support and try it out without risking too much. It's a great way for people to stay continuously housed through the different seasons of life. All right. Moving along. Oh, we have a video. Do we have sound? Yes. Okay, so we're going to play a video of some actual Indwell tenants. I showed you 3 pictures during the message of Tim, of JP, and no, we didn't see Richard. I was like, why am I getting a blank? It's because we didn't see Richard. But some of you have maybe had the chance to meet him. It was fairly well known because there often is a question, who lives at Indwell? And it's really hard to identify. You know, any one of us could actually live at Indwell. But when you hear stories, you start to get a picture of who lives at Indwell. And so I'll give it over to watch this video for a little bit.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate everything that Indwell has done for me.
It was like a dream to have my own kitchen and my own washroom.
There's great tenants in this building. I couldn't ask for a better building, really.
It's a good feeling, you know, that people know your name and they care about how you are and what you're doing.
The fact of loneliness, it don't exist in this building.
As a community that is in mission for others, we believe fundamentally that housing is a basic human right. Everyone is worthy of love and safety and belonging. One of our burning bush moments that brought us to where we are in this moment happened a little while ago. We were doing some cleanup behind the church, and in doing that cleanup, we discovered that there was a family of 3 that was living in an air vent, in a subterranean air vent, just behind the church, so below ground. And they had a little kitchen and a mattress and all sorts of stuff set up in there. And strikingly, over top of where they were living were written the words Mr. and Mrs. Nobody and Offspring. This is not God's justice. And as a community of faith, we could no longer remain idle.
Well, I started out across the street. I lived across the street in the furnace room. I had a small fridge, no stove, and it was around 200 square feet. And he was charging me $800 a month.
Where I was, it was a nightmare, and I just could not believe when I moved here how much it changed my life, and not only my life, but my mental capabilities. How much more could a man want to all of a sudden be relieved of all the tensions and have the ability to enjoy your life?
We stayed at the Econo Lodge for almost a year before I had a meeting with the people with Big Gate or you people or whatever. And it was horrible there. There were cockroaches, bed bugs. We had no TV, no AC, no phone. And we were paying $1,500 a month to stay there. And we were stuck there until there was an opening for us here, I guess. And when we seen the apartment, we were blown away. And we were really, very happy to get away from there. I've always been out on the street, and unfortunately, when you're out there, most of the people that are there to take from you or harm you in some way or steal from you or just take advantage of you. And it doesn't happen here, you know, like it doesn't. And to have something like that you've never had before is important. Your safety. So to go from someplace like that to someplace like this was amazing for both of us.
When I first came to sign the papers, they had already told me that my unit was going to be customized for my needs. And I went inside and I looked at everything and I was like, I cried, and then Mom cried. We were just happy tears. You feel part of the community, is what I should say. So I really like it. Thank you.
And every time I come, I feel like I am a part of a family. I am a part of, you know, something greater than myself. You know, most of the people here are single, or most of their family doesn't live with them, and I think overall being a cure for loneliness has been one of my favorite things of being here.
Well, my overall well-being is a lot better because I have a lot of friends in this building.
It reminds me of my family reunions we used to have as a kid. My name's Jason. I was born in London. I've lived out in the country for 20 years, and then I moved to London. And I've been struggling with addiction for the last 20 years. I happened to become homeless for the last 5, just depression. I lost my job, COVID. Indwell has been very positive with creating just a family organized place to live and helping each other. Where just other buildings that you would live at, it's not anything that I've ever experienced. It's definitely, it's awesome. I love living here. Thank you.
It's been a wonderful gift that Indwell has expanded outside of the original circle. I think we're all very conscious of the fact that it was conceived in the Hamilton region and has sort of, I almost envision concentric circles moving out from that spot.
Yes, I think mental health, the part of healing of mental health is most importantly connection with other people, because we see God through other people, and when we are battling in our minds with these demons, we are not grounded. And a connection with other people keeps us grounded on the earth. And I feel like me having connections with the staff on Indwell and they checking up on me has been such a magnificent help that otherwise I wouldn't have if I was on other places, right?
And the intention of Indwell, all of their programs, it seems to me, are to encourage and build community. Community both between those who are employed and those who are served. I'm really also touched when I hear from family members who are so thankful. They've borne an enormous burden of like, how do I help my loved one? How can I make this better? And they finally are able to partner, I think, with Indwell to meet the needs of their loved ones in ways that they couldn't by themselves.
So I have a wonderful apartment comparing to other places, and it makes my family happy that I'm living at Indwell.
If you donate, you're able to support Indwell and get them to build more homes for people and get them off the streets.
And now we're going to be birthing, along with Indwell, 41 deeply affordable units with supports. We're still going to be the church, and we're going to have 41 apartments in there.
All right,
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
We gotta help people out.
Yeah, a lot of people in the street, man, they want a home.
The return on investment for Indwell's work and the impact it has on the well-being of the individual served and on the society that is being served is probably incalculable. It makes all the difference for people who are then not needing to use acute care, who are not needing to activate emergency management systems, not needing to call police, not needing to call ambulance. That is an enormous piece of the puzzle.
We're celebrating half a century that Indwell can continue to be what it is doing now. And in that sense, we can also be the hands and feet of Jesus.
I hope that Indwell prospers, Embassy Common prospers, and all the other locations see the light of their vision, of the Christian vision that they have.
I would like to say thank you, that what you're contributing to is needed and it makes a difference. Pretty much. It's made a big difference in my life.
And I would just, with the bottom of my heart, love to say thank you.
I want to stay here for as long as I'm able to be on earth.
If this is permanent housing, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Honestly, I really love living here, and the people that come with it. It's great.
video still gets me every time. In that video, there are folks who've lived with us for 20 years and people who've lived with us for 1, and kind of everywhere in between. And many of those folks I know personally and can think through the seasons of their life and how we've been able to walk together. Tremendous people, salt and light people. Often we get asked, this is going to get real dry real quick. We get asked, how does the funding work? And so this is intended to give you a bit of, so on the right, let's look at this. It says Project Capital Stack. So this is how Indwell's projects get funded in order to do construction. And these are rough percentages. But for a building, so on the right-hand side, Project Capital Stack, it starts with community contributions. While that's at the top, it's actually foundational. The community contributions are foundational. We cannot build if we don't have a community that actually wants us there. It's not just the money, it's also the intention behind the money, right? We give where our hearts are, where our treasure is, or our heart is, those kinds of pieces. So the community contributions, that's donations and local initiatives. The municipal government, the provincial government, and the federal government make up the rest of how construction happens. There's always a race to go last between municipal and provincial and the federal government, but we have seen some amazing steps by Peel Region and other municipalities, especially as the homelessness crisis has been grinding on, because regions are saying we have to do something, and regions are tasked with responding to homelessness. So we are seeing Peel Region has really been incredibly supportive in helping get construction going. And the provincial government, that runs through the municipal government, those funding streams. And then the federal government, it's generally that 55%, usually about half of it, although this is all changing with Canada Mortgage and Housing and Build Canada Homes. But usually about half of it has been a loan and half of it has been a grant. But we're always trying to keep those costs down, because that makes it easier to go over to the operating side, to be able to operate affordably. Because we can't carry a lot of debt, we can't have a lot of overhead. That's also that passive house piece if we're providing affordable housing. And we need that housing to be really good. We don't want to build affordable housing that's going to fall apart. People deserve dignity, and we want a place that's going to be good for the long haul. So over in the program funding streams, again, donations make up about 20% of how we operate, and that'll be grants and other pieces. Our tenants all pay rent. So tenants are paying rent, and that makes up 40% of how we make ends meet on an operating side. The Ministry of Health, because supportive housing is a healthcare initiative, so the Ministry of Health funds a lot of our staffing positions, and then municipalities and other organizations will give us operating grants from time to time. To fund a position or to help keep things going. So that's on the turquoise. On this side is how we get a building built, and on this side is how do we keep a building running. And it's not as beautiful as lasagna, but really it is lasagna. And sometimes there are more layers than others, and maybe that makes it more delicious. It's more work to build, but it's definitely lasagna layers of funding, and it is hard work. This is one of the things that supportive housing providers and actually nonprofits all over face, is how do you put all these funding pieces together in order to do the kind of care? It's not simple, and it is one of the things that's challenging in our society, I guess. But that's just a comment. So how can you support? How you can support. We love volunteers. You saw Erica in the video. Erica is from St. Pachoy's Church, and they actually got to know us because of the mural that is painted on the outside of Lakeshore Lofts. They were connected to somebody who knew someone who was an artist, and they learned about Indwell, and they were a group of young people. This is a Gen Z people, a group of young people who want, or maybe they're millennials, I don't know. Anyway, They're younger than me, and they wanted to find a place to connect. They recognized that loneliness is part of the epidemic that they were facing, and they responded in the best way possible to say, we're going to get to know other people, we're going to serve together, we're going to build friendships by caring for other people. Amazing. Erica and her cohort of folks they've just built an incredible community around themselves. And as Erica said, it cured her own loneliness. And volunteering is an amazing way. You can volunteer in lots of different ways. Trish can tell you more about that. Yeah, you can give financially. You see what portion and how important the donations are. They are the catalyst that actually makes this all worthwhile. Donations, when we sit down with our tenants and talk about their affordable rent, we talk with them about how the community cares about you, and that is how your rent is made to be affordable. It cares in the form of donations and churches and people who give, but also a community that builds structures that help to support people. There are lots of countries in the world that don't have a social welfare system or a disability support program. While ODSP rates have not kept up with the cost of living, there is some kind of system there. We look to transform that system so that it will be better, but there are people out there who care, and that can become part of a person's story of their own dignity. You are worthwhile, and so donations make a big difference in more than just a financial way. And you can be a one-time or a monthly donor. And Gifts of Hope. And so seasonally, we have Gifts of Hope that are a specific way that you can help. I've benefited, it's me, but it's also my community. I've benefited from Gifts of Hope because as a donor has contributed to beekeeping. I keep bees on the roof of one of our apartment buildings, and then the tenants get the honey and they participate in the extraction of the honey, and there's this really cool community thing that happens, and that was possible through Gifts of Hope. Some of our staff have done crock pot cooking. So Gifts of Hope, people gave money and crock pots so that people could do crock pot cooking. And we had 30 folks come out to make crock pot meals together. Right, because cooking for yourself, you know it, it's not very motivating and not, making food with others. You make the food together and you can share some of the food together is a beautiful thing. So that's examples of some of our Gifts of Hope. Those are ways that you can support. Future opportunities in Peel Region. So we are continuing to scale to meet diverse communities. I talked about our different levels, right? Lakeshore Lofts is blended, Cornerstone is higher, Creekside is lower. We want more. It's not like we want more, but we do. We want more buildings. We want to be able to support more people. Peel Region, last stats that I have, we're meeting 3% of the affordable housing needs. And that's also Brampton and Caledon, but Mississauga there's a lot of need. So we are hoping to continue to scale up with more units. That allows us to diversify as well and create options. So it's housing stability for the folks who are already with us and more entry points for people who need support around our city. So that's new locations. Some key factors, we look for, so this is like if you know of any properties, let us know, talk to Trish. But we look for walkability, access to transit, access to grocery stores, places to get involved in the community, beautiful spaces. Sometimes people think that affordable housing should be outside of the community because, and we hear this, right, that it should be outside of the community because the lives that people are living are disrupted and difficult. It doesn't get easier when you have a really far way to travel in order to get support. When you can actually have positive networks and connections within the community, your needs can get met and the acuity comes down. And so being co-located with useful services, just like any one of us, location, 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 that's important for us in affordable housing as well. And I think we're coming close to the end. We're at questions. So that's questions. Do you have questions for us? Mike.
I'm sure, like I said, it's really good.
I don't know. I know this guy. Should I trust him?
Are you going to tell them what happened this week with Bill?
Hello? Oh, it's on. More of a comment than a question. You may recall Don McDermott was my predecessor as our representative of this church at the Compass. Don put the question to us, is the Compass Church, and I've referred to this quote many times, the answer was a resounding yes. It epitomized the way we can do the work that's expected of us as people that profess to be Christians. We're all aware of the magnitude of the work that the Compass is doing. The Compass Outreach Center with a food bank. Part of the reason we were able to do what we do as the Compass and grow to the extent we've grown effectively, and this congregation is a big supporter of the Compass. It's part of our duty as a Christian, and it's how we execute that, was because Indwell stepped in. We have a partner with them. They are our landlord for basically forever, as long as we exist. So that's when that relationship started. We listened to what Indwell and what Jess was talking about. It epitomizes the way to continue the work of being a Christian. Every one of those communities that they've built of 40 to 60 houses is in effect a church. Those are communities that are being looked after and cared for. One of the resounding things where the Compass and Indwell work together in our ethos is the word dignity. You would talk about dignity, and you look at some of the people that are in that video, I can tell you, I've had dinner with and met with a number of those folks. They're people in the community. You heard the name Richard Antonio. I first met Richard in my role as coming in as the Compass rep from this church, and as the director of communications and outreach at the Compass at the time. I knew Richard as the chair of the Peel Poverty Action Group. I had no idea he was in the straits he was in and wound up, living precariously and then at Lakeshore Lofts. Incredible human beings are there. What's the difference? They're people that have financial stress or have had a number of personal things where they don't have the insulation we have, and they wind up needing deeply affordable housing. So these are some of the things that are going on. These are people in our community that need our help. So it was so wonderful to hear this just epitomize the kind of way, the opportunity we have to be church in the 21st century. There's a couple of ways we've seen in our own strategic plan. We've heard about Creekside Apartments. That's the 50 unit. For those who may have forgotten, we called it Kentucky Fried Chicken Hill. That's where that building's under construction right now. That's Creekside Lofts. And you should see the work that's turned around the community attitude to that. Craftsman condos that are next door to that, for example. One of the people on an outreach committee is on the board of that group. They're looking now forward to having them as neighbors and looking to integrate. We're going to have an opportunity as a church to do some outreach work with Creekside Apartments. That's at a minimum. The more exciting thing is the stuff we've heard about from the excellent work that the REOC team here has done. So I hope people have been reading that and paying attention to all that huge work that the REOC team has been doing, because there's some really exciting ways for us to be an amazing church and have an amazing impact in our community. So that's my comment and my 2 cents, because I'm a huge booster of this, as you can probably tell.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Mike sits on our Clarkson Community Connectors group, and where we talk together about what is the community seeing and hearing, and how can we answer questions and support the development of Creekside Apartments, but that also is part of the catalyst for future development in this region. Yeah. Yeah.
I was expecting Mike to make an announcement on this week. Mike is a huge resource to do with being aware of homelessness. Infant the Cold.
You got to use the mic.
Sorry. Infant
There you
the
go.
Cold has been in operations for multiple years. I remember Mike recruited me in the beginning. If you want to learn more about it, you can speak with Mike. But the key thing is, even though it's been operation for multiple years and has been growing, the Region of Peel did not renew the funding this year. Now, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but the funding comes from the federal government that goes down to the region and to places. So that means all these people that are living on the street have no place to go this year. So the Compass is helping to step up and being open longer hours. But what this means is, so they're telling me, sorry, not me, it wasn't me. They're telling us that the funding, the federal government funding is shifting from things like In From the Cold to places like Indwell. So the needs or the demands on Indwell is definitely going to grow. Were you aware of the announcement this week? In Mississauga, sorry, Region of Peel.
I don't know what. I think what you're getting at is the tension between emergency responses and permanent supportive housing, and we're going to experience that tension because there are people who are without housing and they need emergency supports. They absolutely do.
So that is increasing. Now the funding is going to shift from. Maybe I didn't explain it well. The funding, the government Region of Peel is shifting the funding from emergency supports to places like Indwell. So the demand in Peel is going to definitely increase.
Yeah, so there was a slide, and it was in the video, so we can't pull it up. Don't worry, Olivia. There was a slide that talked about, can we shift from bulking out all of our all the funding and resources? Can we shift from bulking it out on emergency responses to prevention and long-term supports? That's the shift that we're talking about. This is what communities are trying to find a way to across the country. How do we make that shift? Because there's real people whose lives are impacted. And so if something closes, if a shelter, if there's not a shelter bed, where does that person go? And the responsibility is on us. So this is where Indwell, part of our strategic plan is responsible growth to ensure that we can keep up and maintain and have a strong foundation for all of the work that we do, and system transformation. We operate within systems. We're not creating our own new system. We are working within systems that exist. So when changes happen, when an organization needs support, we're aware of one another and we can support the individuals who are impacted by that. That's easier said than done. It means, especially in our community of Mississauga, we got a lot of different communities and there's a lot of fragmentation and there's a lot of challenge for people, moving from one place to another. Being able to build a network where we can call and we can help one another, it takes a lot of work. But Cornerstone Suites, really good example of Our Place Peel, who supports youth, Elizabeth Fry. Our staff are on first name basis with one another, and so folks can come from homelessness and move into Cornerstone Suites, and that's nearly seamless, and that is a beautiful thing, and that's using the Region of Peel's by name list. So Region of Peel, Elizabeth Fry, and Indwell working together in order to have a person experience housing. And then we can become more aware of what the needs are. I also talked about our team going on an outreach call, right, alongside of the encampment homelessness team. Encampment health team, that we can work together. So that system transformation, because as funding changes, as approaches change, real people are impacted by it. Are there more questions about Indwell? Yeah, Louise.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, our community is very supportive and aware of the work that Embrave does, which is the women's shelter, and also Amra House. And I wondered if you could speak to the relationship you have with those organizations.
Yes, we are still strengthening that relationship because we are, as I mentioned, working on building up our scale. As our scale increases, then our ability to meet different needs also increases. So with the opening of Creekside, we based on listening to Arma House and listening to some of the churches, actually, yourselves included, said we're going to put some 2-bedroom units. Now they will be modest sized 2-bedroom units, kind of ideal for like a parent-child. and getting to know Arma House so that folks could, if they wanted, move from Arma House into Indwell. That would be a dream, because then families can experience continuity in their supports in their community. In time, that could mean that maybe we would build more family units, but recognizing the needs that we have and trying to respond to them together. And we also network with support. So on the ground, I talked about the first name basis that we have with Elizabeth Fry and Our Place Peel. To have the staff be on first name basis, along with the folks who are supported, so that, again, there's you can extend trust and build bridges so that people are more likely to want to or feel at home in an environment. And so that's, at this time, that's how we work with organizations like that. In time, it could be that we would be able to do more. In Hamilton, we are this summer opening 23 units, particularly specifically for families, so 2 and 3 bedroom units, and would love for us to be doing that in 3 to 5 years in Mississauga, that we would be able to open family units along those lines, because there's a need, and supports for families is there's not enough of it. There's not enough of all of it, but families need support to remain housed and stay together. Yes. The choir was amazing, by the way. I'm just going to say it out loud. You rocked that. So good.
In my travels around the village, there is an elderly woman who I know is homeless. She carries all her possessions in her bundle buggy. And there is an encampment, or her place, I think, is by the Bell building on Southdown. It just breaks my heart every time I see her. Is there any way we can get her into like Shore Lofts or wherever?
After this, because we're being live streamed and recorded, but maybe we can talk just a little bit more about who that is, and if you know her name, and we can. But if we can find some of that information, because people who are in encampments, I know they are visited by paramedics and by Peel outreach teams, and if this is someone who's already known, maybe there are some connections that can help us actually make that happen. I'm just going to take a couple notes, but we can chat after.
Yeah, before they put up the new fences along in front of the condo, or the townhouses on that back onto Southdown. She used to live under the pine trees there, and then they cut a lot of the pine trees down, and she had to move.
Yeah.
So
there's that tension between safety and welcome that we actually want to come together. But when bushes and pieces are taken down, because we don't want people to necessarily live in those spaces, but then people still need a place to go, and how do we do it all? It's hard. Okay, let's move over here. We got a question here at the microphone. Go ahead.
Well, with Leslie's question, I spoke to that woman, and
You
said
did?
hi, and I've offered to drive her and help out. But she doesn't want to live, and she wants to be outdoors. She's happy where she is. And there's some people that are like that.
That's
and
right.
You can't help them.
Yeah, I can. So that's definitely true, and that's part of why our team is going along for a different person alongside of Peel Outreach Team, because people make their own choices. You can't take someone and say, and Indwell doesn't work that way. You can't say you must go live at Indwell. If you had a family member who you thought needed Indwell, you wouldn't be able to place them at Indwell. You have to want this. So if someone doesn't want it, but part of our approach is actually it's recovery oriented. So building trust is kind of the first piece. You build a relationship and you build trust, and help people see alternatives and ways and things that they may or may not want to do. But there are some folks who don't want to choose that. I have a very close friend who really would benefit from what Indwell offers, and he's paying over $700 to share a room with 10 people and 3 cats. The cats are really cute. And it's not a home without an animal, but this is the best place he's been so far. But if someone does not want this, then it's not going to be for them.
Okay, My question's more about the system.
Okay.
Okay, I lived at Arma with
Okay.
a 5 and an 8-year-old sons. If I wanted to you could stay for 6 months and then go out and find somewhere. But if I wanted to go into assisted living, I could have stayed a year. Then also, if I was going into assisted living, I was given an allowance to be able to get furniture and whatnot. I'm going independent, I get nothing. Like the system was there just to kind of suck me in. And there's something else right now, and I can't remember what it was, but there was just all this obstacles that's forcing me to go into that situation, which I was lucky enough I didn't have to go.
Yeah, amazing that you're here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to say
Well,
that's not really appropriate towards what you're doing, because you're doing a wonderful thing. But
Well, that's when we talk about system transformation, because, right, we talk about ODSP and we talk about, I mean, there's all kinds of systems that we exist in. The systems are actually, they're meant to help us do what we do, but systems can kind of become just existing to perpetuate themselves. That can happen, and it's the goal of all of us, and this would be my call to all of us. Let's not forget to be human inside of the systems that we work, and we do the things that we can to see people in front of us as real people, which is part of why I ask, and we don't need to put that on live stream, but does anyone know this person's name? Because we don't want to create a system that is more important than the people inside of it, and that's it's difficult. It's difficult to administer. I could not be Mark Carney. There's so many things that you have to juggle and so many competing priorities, and how do you put all those things together when there are competing crises going on? We don't know. But let's not forget the people that are on the inside of each of these systems. That's what we exist for. That's what Salt and Light is. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Hey, good.
I think everyone's kind of slowly moving towards this question, and I figure I'm just going to be directly front. So what is the systems that you in place for newcomers? Like, how do you determine who is a good fit for Indwell? Like, what is the format that you have? How do you determine if someone is a high needs versus middle needs versus low needs? You've kind of glossed over that, but never actually talked about the specifics. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, you bet. It's a good question, because speaking to that systems piece, we want to know people by name, and people need to want what we have. So that's kind of two human pieces. And that's the very first, if you were to think about it as an entry point, I'm going to walk backwards into this entry point, but someone comes, and we need someone to actually want what we have. So if you're being brought by someone else and you don't want it, then this isn't the place for you. But you approach Indwell, and then we have intake staff. So our intake coordinators, we have Julie and Erin and Nicole, and these folks handle a lot of information and gather information that the person provides about themselves. And maybe if the person volunteers, hey, I've got a social worker, or I have a support person, a family member, a best friend, anybody who also knows me. So we gather information as we take steps towards, is this going to be a good fit? It's not just about us getting to know the person, though. It's also about us giving information to the person so they can make their own choice. Is this what you want? And we tell people who Indwell is, what do we do, what can you expect? If we get to a certain point where we've given information, and we do this by phone, and they've given information, we say, okay, we want to take the next step. Our intake coordinator will look at things like, so in our highest support programs, there's meals. Does the person need or want meals or medication management? If they don't want those things, then we don't want to stream them to Cornerstone Suites. Then we would take a look at a lower support program if they don't need medication management and they actually can make their own meals and have been doing so for a number of years. But then they'll come on site to our buildings and they will meet with the staff who work in the building. So they can see it and they can make a choice, and our staff can also say and do an assessment. So they're trained in different assessments and gathering information, the information that's already been gathered, to put together to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to offer. Our goal is always, by the time that someone comes on site, that we're actually just looking to confirm a yes. because, right, that this was a good fit, that all the information that we gathered and the conversations that we had helped us to get to a point where we're just affirming a choice that we already made. Because through all of this, there's also trauma-informed approaches. If you are someone who has experienced disability, I mean, you've probably had this yourself if you've gone through anything difficult. You have to tell that story, even to loved ones, over and over and over again. If you are someone who lives with a disability, well, why do you have it? Where did it come from? What's your life been like? Who are your supports? Telling your story over and over and over again, it re-traumatizes you. It's a difficult thing. And you've actually already told that story to many other people. So we try as much as we can to take a trauma-informed approach so that a person doesn't have to explain themselves. At the same time, we're still getting good information to help us understand who this person is and is this going to be a good fit. There are times where we meet with someone and they say, I don't need medication management and I don't need this. But based on all of the other information that we have, we say, actually, we're going to offer you this high level of support. And they say, well, I don't want it. Then we say, all right, now, not now. The answer is not now. And maybe again, we'll look at their application in a few years or when something changes. But there are times where we say, not now. I don't like to say no. It's because you're always looking for, if the answer is no, how do we get to yes? What needs to change in order to get to yes? But as much as possible, that's back to that developing that whole range of supports. We want to be able to meet people where they're at as much as we can. And when we only have one building or two buildings, that's harder to do. We want more options. And we want to be connected to a bigger system so that if we can't say yes, someone else can say yes, so that this person can come to one door and get the support that they need. And that's how that intake approach is. So it's coordinating previously gathered information gathered from the person themselves, giving the person information so they can make an informed choice for themselves as well, and then meeting. When someone is getting ready to move in, we do a occupancy or a tenancy agreement with them that lays out the rights and responsibilities of living in our housing. In our highest support programs, we use an occupancy agreement. That means that the person must participate in the program of supports that we're offering. You're moving here because you need the meals, because the medication management's going to be a benefit to you, and you have the following goals. And whatever those goals might be, I want to go to school, or I want to have a house plant, or there's all kinds of different things. I want to quit smoking, and people's goals change. But you must work with our team in order to maintain stability and move on that path of recovery. Recovery really just means the stability. Really just means stability. Health, wellness, belonging, those kinds of things. We want people to be on that recovery journey. Our housing is recovery oriented. That's a whole lot of answers to one question. Hopefully it was a bit helpful. Yeah.
Mr. Brown. Hi. I'm Dana. Thank you so much, Jess. A quick question. I had the fortune to go to the open house at Cornerstone. What a fabulous building. I understand that a local church in Streetsville, maybe there was more than one, did some very tangible things that that church congregation tangibly managed to help the new tenants moving into the building. And what I'd like to ask you is, do you have any suggestions or talk a minute about, sorry, what sort of tangible, concrete things that our congregation, the people, we want to do some hands-on and help, some suggestions, some ideas. Where do we start? Because I'm so excited, and before you know it, it'll be January and they'll be moving in, and I would love to be able to help personally. See what we could do.
Yes. So I'm going to give you some answers, and then the follow-up's going to be with Trish, who is at the back. Actually, a lot of churches did a lot of things to help us at Cornerstone. People made blankets for beds, bedspreads, but one of the big ones is welcome baskets. So a basket of home supplies for every person who's moving in, and it's kind of fun to gather. But like a laundry basket and some soap and some cleaning supplies and maybe a snack, something thoughtful or personal, maybe a sign that says a house is not a home without a dog, those kinds of things. But those welcome baskets really, they open the doors of welcome. When we talk about opening doors of welcome together, that is a really tangible way to do that. In the longer term, in a relational kind of way, actually having a dinner and inviting people, or going there and having dinner together, recognizing that you're going to learn something from the people who live in the apartments. It's not just we're going to help and provide for these folks. It's actually we're going to connect with these people and learn something together. Games nights, especially in Mississauga, our people love to play cards, and so games and card games, offering your skills and your interests in a volunteering way is also really welcome. Is there anything else that you can think of, Trish, that I'm not naming? That's pretty good? Okay. Yeah, also welcome barbecue. I don't know, some of, January is not a great barbecue time. Maybe welcome hot chocolate. That could go in the basket. Yeah, and like personal cards that like go by name. You're not an institution that cares about people. You are people individually who come together to care for people. So it is like from Christ First United, but also from Dana, from Mike, and from Victoria. I'm trying to remember people's names here. Yeah. Are there more questions? You are inspiring. Just know that. Yeah, Mike.
I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things we heard and clarify and semi-question. Peel Region, you've heard mentioned, is the administrator of funds. Ontario is rather unique in Canada that the whole responsibility for things associated with affordable housing and emergency shelter is put down to the municipalities. So the region of Peel is what's called a manager or administrator of the funds, of federal funds. And it's true what Elaine indicated, their priority for the limited amount of money they do get actually is what they call upstream expenditures. So that's investing in things like Indwell programs that secure people in permanent housing. We saw an uptick in emergency shelter support during the pandemic. That sort of wavered off. So an emergency shelter is sort of considered a Band-Aid. What's the bigger problem? So the permanent solution. And I think because of and I just want to draw people's attention to one thing before I turn back to Jess here. If those of you who are watching the video are really paying attention, you would have recognized a person that appeared in a number of shots. And that person was housed in this church, in our apartment. So the work that we're doing with that apartment over the years, there's an opportunity to really ramp that up. Now my question is, on the intake process, you described that really well, and I think there's a little bit of a complication, if I can add, or a nuance to that process that's governed by the region of Peel, because there's a list of people that you have to get on and then to be vetted by. Perhaps you could just clarify a little bit on that intake process and the relationship with the region of Peel, just so people get it.
Yeah, waiting lists are really, really tricky. Yeah, when I first started at Indwell, I should say, the task that the then executive director gave me was to get a waiting list as long as the building is, because he didn't want us to have any vacancies, because even in 2010, we would have vacancies from time to time, and we needed a waiting list in order to fill them. Well, now waiting lists are, it's hard for me to even imagine that was my job, to get a waiting list. It's not like that now. There are lists all over the place. And so part of our system transformation and responsible growth is to align with the existing lists, because we don't want people to have to, otherwise it's stressful. Do I have my name on enough lists in order to get all of the opportunities that are available to me? And people will give up because it's too hard to do. And so syncing up with regional lists enables us to have one door. I mentioned that one door that helps people access all of the opportunities that are available to them. It does mean that you can't really do queue hopping, right? You can't jump from nowhere into a list. So when you meet someone, it's helpful to get them synced up. If you meet someone who's homeless, get them synced up with the regional existing lists. Now, the amount of knowledge about these lists in my head is more than anybody should actually have. But I can tell you there are kind of two main ways that lists are done. And the region has to maintain these two lists. One is actually out of the provincial government, one is out of the federal government, and every region has to do this. So there is the by name list, and there is the chronological list. So a chronological list is people who are waiting for affordable housing. And that list is often cited. It is thousands of people long, and that's the list that is like 12 or 20 or 30 or lifetime years long. That affordable housing list, every region has one of those lists, and people do get housed off of those lists. So you fill out a lot of paperwork through housing services, and then you can wait on that list. You fill out a building selection form, and all of the affordable housing in the region could be available to you if it's appropriate. But that's a chronological list. So whenever you got onto the line, you stand in that line and you wait, sort of metaphorically speaking. Because homelessness is quite a crisis, and we're recognizing that it's a healthcare crisis, we take more of a triaging kind of approach in homelessness. And so there is a by names list that, if you went to an emergency room and the three of you were all in the emergency room and, sorry, Heather, I just assigned you a heart attack. And Louise had a bee sting. But Louise got there first, and we're skipping Heather because Louise was there first. She's not allergic, actually. I mean, unless you are, but, okay, so I choose stub toe instead. But if Louise got there first, that's how a chronological list kind of works, right? But actually Heather's need is higher, and so we need to get that support to her more quickly. So there's a triaging approach in the homelessness sector. The by name list allows us to do some more triaging so that we can get Heather into housing because she needs it more. Not more, she needs it in a more timely fashion, in a specialized way. That's probably a more effective way to say that, because this by name list also enables us to say this supportive housing is available to you, or this homelessness housing first case management service is available to you. It opens up different doors for people. So that's the by names list that operates in the homelessness sector. It is shelter providers and the encampment support teams that can get a person onto that by names list. And it is intended, you hear the word, and I talked about this, by name, that is supposed to be people first. It is still a system because it has to be, and so that's that tension between people and systems. But the shelter providers will get to know a person and help them with that assessment and help them get the services that are available for them. This chronological list also does have some ability to prioritize if people are homeless. It's a different system than over here, but I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. That's for coffee if you care to learn more. So that it does mean that if you have someone who is staying in your, you meet someone and they're staying in your house or something along those lines, you want to get them in touch with that by name list in order for us to be able to house them. But if you ever have questions, just speak to our intake coordinators. They manage all of that by the grace of God.
I don't see anyone racing to get to the mic, so that's tells me there's still lots of things to think about and pray about, but also how do I say? It's not overwhelming, but it's a lot for the head and heart to receive all this information. And so I have no doubt that the questions are going to swirl for a while. And so I hope you've taken in, they've just come down, the contact information that was up there for Jess and for Trish, so that as grateful as we are to have welcomed you here today, go direct to the source with those questions that you have, particularly on how you can continue to participate. And we will do our very best as our new neighbors come in about a year's time, less than that. But certainly we want to encourage you to develop that trust and that relationship with Indwell, because they are here. They are doing this good and honorable work. I'll just close, of course, with a thank you to Jess and to Trish for being here with us today. We've kept you well past your lunch hour, so I do hope you got maybe one sandwich before you came back up here. When I sent out the order of service to our folks, our worship leadership team on Friday, I said 2 more sleeps. And it doesn't feel like Christmas, because who wants this information to be true? And yet having you here, there's been a genuine excitement and anticipation for me that you could be here and bring greater truths into our worship life, into our community life, help us to understand how we can respond. So when you talk about this crew as being inspiring, they absolutely are with their engagement, but you, in your work through Indwell, inspire us. And every time I hear the word, I think of, it's one of the few Latin things I know, but it means to breathe life into. We think of inspiring as God bringing that life into us, but into all God's people and into the community. So thank you for inspiring us and showing us how we can be part of breathing life, dignity for all. So we say thank you. Maybe you want to join me in thanking Jess and Trish for being here today. And do you have one last, looked like you wanted to say one more thing? No
It's just
pressure.
that in that world of overwhelm and all of the different pieces, it's helpful to come back to these 3 pieces that were part of that message. It is something that I come back to all the time, because there's a whole world of things that need restoration and healing in the kingdom. But it is salt and light and mustard seeds and yeast and who we are, what we do, and God blesses that work. And just to come back to that, not losing sight of our identity, and that it's not just up to us. God is at work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing God into the neighborhood with us and for us. Every blessing to you, and every blessing to you, friends, on your way home and as you refuel. And apparently there's a game this evening. Super Bowl, something.
I think I'm going to take a nap.
I'm with you. All right. And a concert. And Olympics, right. There are things to do. Yeah. Godspeed, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.